Hey, it's Justin with Wild Water Plumbing here. Today, what we're doing is we're going to take a look at a general toilet. We're going to go all over all the different components, how they fail, the different areas of which potential leaks and different things happen. If you have a weak flush, kind of like what you're looking for, the solutions for these different things, just a general overview of the toilet. So here we go. What we have here is your standard toilet with the standard toilet parts. There are different variations and different things like that, but it's a standard toilet. Main problem we have is, like people call in, the toilets are running. The two major causes of that is here that you got the fill valve. It's basically when you flush the toilet, it fills your tank and your bowl. So what tends to happen is these get old and wear out, and so they'll just continue to run like that when they're not supposed to. It has a little float here set to keep the, so the water doesn't go into the overflow tube here in general operation. So that's usually one of the components that causes your running toilet. The other one is your flapper down here. This one looks good. A lot of times these flappers, the chlorine really eats them up. And then over time, it'll just allow just a little bit of water to flow out. And then as the water in the tank goes down, your fill valve will kick on, fill it back up, stop. So flapper's another big one. Sometimes a little debris will get down there, cause it to keep running. Another thing we see is these chains. Somebody might have changed their own flapper, or somebody, a plumber that doesn't know what they're doing. A lot of these chains are longer and have more chain to them. And so what will happen too is when you flush it, the chain will get stuck under that flapper. Sometimes it's just as simple as adjusting your chain here. Or sometimes you have the handles. That one works good, but sometimes these will be in all kinds of different positions. Just doesn't allow to come up well, or well seat and again make the chain go down. Sometimes they aren't sturdy, and so sometimes the handle itself can cause internal issues. This whole thing right here is called your flush valve. It's just where it connects to the tank, and then eventually you got a gasket in here under here where the tank to bowl goes. You'll see issues with this tank to bowl gasket sometimes. Sometimes you'll flush and you'll see water come out the sides. That's just an indicator that this gasket under here has dry rotted and is seeping water. It doesn't happen very often, but if you do see every time you flush water coming down, it could be that. Or you see you got two bolts here. Sometimes you have three. Sometimes you won't even see them in the tank. On some of the versions, they're just attached to the bottom of the tank. But you see they have gaskets here, and sometimes they'll have another gasket under here where it meets the tank just to try and prevent it. But those gaskets will also eventually go bad, and then you'll see water, where's my finger, dripping down these bolts, and they'll get highly corroded. Another thing where your fill valve goes through the tank, again, you're going to have a gasket inside your tank. Sometimes you'll see leakage here. Just saying that the gasket of the fill valve is going, it would just replace that. Another thing that kind of sometimes happens is you got your supply line. These braided hoses are really good. They don't fail that often, but sometimes, again, with anything, there's gaskets in here, different components that just tend to go bad. You'll see them leak there and there sometimes. Every once in a while, you see them rupture and leaking the actual hose. As with a lot of your fixtures in your home, you got your angle stop here, shut-off valve. This is an old multi-turn. These are more prone to leaking than the new quarter turns. They'll leak out your valve stem here, or where the packing is. That's another big issue that we come into. Somebody will say their toilet's leaking, but sometimes it's the valve or supply line. It's not even the toilet. Two, say, oh, that's not good. Not to get that out. Plumber, right? Makes that video authentic. Here, if say like a customer calls in, they have like weak flushes. Under here, no, I think see it very well. They have a bunch of little holes here. They're your little jets. So as you flush, the water comes down, goes in these rings, and that's the water that comes down. Sometimes with hard water in this ring here, and those little holes will fill up. You got little helpers out here today. No, don't do the toilet. So these will clog up with hard water and sometimes decrease the flow of water able to go into the bowl. That will create a weak flush, and unfortunately, there's not much you can do when that happens. That's usually in your older toilets there. and we'd be looking at replacing the toilet at that part. Usually these internal things, they can just be replaced without having to replace the whole toilet, but a weak flush, typically you're going to replace the whole toilet. Sometimes you got the little bolts here that go to your flange underneath the toilet. Sometimes they'll be loose, or sometimes your flange will break and crack and cause it to be loose as well. But you wouldn't know if there's a flange problem unless you pull the toilet. Sometimes you'll come in, the toilet's rocking, this one's good and sturdy, so there's no issue there. That means these bolts are good, everything's good. They got the good caulking here. But if your toilet's rocking, I mean, it could be as simple as tighten these nuts here, or if that doesn't work, we would have to pull the toilet and see if there's any kind of flange damage under here, which would either be repaired or replaced depending on the severity of the damage. Again, other things we get called in for is when people flush the toilet, they see water coming out from under the toilet. Every time they flush, there's a wax ring in there that goes between the toilet and that flange. And so sometimes when those wax rings get old and hard, they'll get warped, and when you flush, water's coming out. They're really there really to prevent sewer gases to coming back up and coming into your home. They also help with making sure the water transitions from the bowl into your drain there. I mean, another issue is sometimes seats will slide and everything like that. We can either tighten those or completely replace them. Uh, so usually when we come in, usually a lot of times you'll see what's called a minor repair. Usually if replacing this or the flapper, we're going to replace both of them at the same time. They do tend to wear out about at the same rate, and they cause the same issue, so we usually repair that at the same time. Or say like you're having water coming out or dripping down those bolts like we said, we'd come in and we do a major repair. So basically that's going to be where we're going to pull the entire tank off and replace everything in here. All these tank to bowl gaskets and nuts, the flush valve, the flapper, the fill valve, handle, everything will be taken out and replaced in your major rebuild. Other than that, we're going to come in and replace your whole toilet. So yeah, that's your basic rundown of your toilet here, all the different components, where they fail, kind of what we would do to repair them. If you have any questions, just reach out to us at 910-750-2312. I don't recommend sticking your hand in your toilet. You have a good day.